Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Colleen.
Hello, Taylor. How are you today?
Good, good, good.
I don't see you today. Is your camera on?
It is. Let me see if, yeah, it is from my end.
All
Hmm.
right. Well, anyway, I know you're there, so it might just be my view. We had to change a couple of views when I worked in the office yesterday, so I noticed all my screens, I have the dual monitors, and I'm like resetting everything. Like, oh, geez, I forgot I changed all this yesterday.
I can see myself, but yeah, maybe I'm hidden for some reason on yours with the dual monitors.
And that could be, well, even though I can't see you, hello again.
Hello.
So we've got quite a few people registered. I think we had 40 when I last looked. So I know we got quite a few people just logging in and getting set up with their audio. Oh, hello, Win. How are you? Nice to see you. Love when I see names I recognize popping in. And a couple others that I know. So welcome, welcome. We are actually going to cover listings today. And so hopefully this will be one of your favorite classes and you'll go out and list a bunch so we can have a little more inventory. I know that would be nice. But excited to teach this class with Taylor. It's always fun when we get to teach classes together. And I swear it seems like every time we teach a class, I learn something new from you. And so I guess I'll just start with introductions. My name is Colleen DeLang. I staff it here at my Real Source. I am also the Director of Education. I keep forgetting that now. And a little bit about my background is I have been a licensed realtor for the last 24 years. And I'm excited to take you through some really good time-saving tips and techniques when adding in a listing, some great things you're going to want to know about researching the listing, about using the tools to promote. And then Taylor always does a fantastic job on promoting the listing, taking better photos, captions, and descriptions. So we're going to cover a lot today. So Taylor, you want to introduce yourself? I'm sure some people are coming in from our vendor MLSs and may not have met you yet.
Yeah, possibly. Well, good afternoon. My name is Taylor. I am our Director of Communications and Photography. So I teach several of our classes here, especially over the last 11 years that I've been with my Real Source. But my favorites to do are when I get to teach with Colleen and split that up, which is nice. And I do our photography classes as well, and we'll be covering the promotional side of your listing, the listing part of the listing entry piece, and photos today. So if you could just let us know, maybe we should have probably opened with that, but just let us know down in the questions or the chat that you can hear us and see us okay. That would be great. You should be seeing Colleen's screen right now. Paragon says, she's got the spring background. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Win. I appreciate it. And then there
And
are,
Taylor, I can actually see you now, and your hair looks very cute today.
oh, thank you. Thanks. There are 4 handouts attached, right, that you can download that just covers, the pieces that we talk about today. So that's going to be, a lot of information from A to Z, like the title of the class. So these handouts will be helpful for you. You will also be able to find this class on our YouTube channel. I'm going to add that into the chat where that link is so that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and see all of our classes, any promotional videos we do, quick tips, and any kind of content that we put out in the future. So go ahead and check that link out. You will see this class shortly on our YouTube channel.
Awesome. And we also, to make it easy, just in case, let's say you lose the link, we did put it under resources. You can now go to our recorded webinar, which is the same YouTube channel, and you can find the class date for today. So if you want to watch this exact class again, you can do so by going to resources and under that education section. And that, by the way, we have invited a lot of our vendor MLSs to these classes. And so if you are with, let's say, Midland or Bay or Saginaw, any of our vendor MLSs, you'll be able to see those classes there as well. So I love teaching with Taylor. How we usually do this is I usually take the first half and she's kind enough to answer all the questions. So a little bit of housekeeping. We still want you to ask questions. It certainly makes it a lot easier to teach when we get good questions coming in. And you don't have to hold all of your questions to the end. There is a questions box that is probably minimized in your GoToWebinar panel. Kind of looks like a reddish or orange arrow probably over to the right side of your screen. If you just open that up, that will allow you to ask questions in that question box. And as Taylor already mentioned, we've got some great handouts there for you. And so she's going to be watching those questions as I sort of take you on a tour of, I guess I'm handling like the A through N, and you're pretty much doing all the hard stuff.
No, you got the forms part. So do you want to kind of tell them the order of how we're going to do this from A to Z quickly? Just how we start and how we'll conclude?
Sure. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to take you on researching the listing, how you're preparing your CMA for your listing, how you're filling out your paperwork for your listing, where you're going in and doing your upload if you're using the data form, how to upload all of that information. And then once we've got your listing pretty much built and ready to go, then Taylor's going to do all the really hard stuff. She's going to show you the ways that she promotes the listing, the products that she uses, great photos and descriptions. I'm not sure. I know we plugged Kubacasa in here a little bit at the beginning and end, but if you want to kind of touch on that, you can as well. Or I can cover it at the end, whatever's easiest. But basically, it's everything soup to nuts, right? How do you start preparing for your listing appointment? Where do you go for that information? Once you've got it, what do you do? How do you make that wowing presentation? How do you wow over those sellers? I'm going to show you some cool things there. We're going to talk about filling in that data sheet, pushing it into the MLS, saving you a lot of steps, no double entry of information. We're also going to talk about your admins and how they can also assist. We're going to talk about where to associate documents go, how do you pull those into transactions. So we're going to cover it all. But like I said, Taylor's got all the really fun stuff, the harder stuff, the promoting things that she does on social media. The great thing about Taylor is she has a degree in marketing. She teaches our photos class. And quite honestly, I thought I took pretty good photos until I took her photos class and I realized I wasn't doing such a great job. I learned so many tips and techniques, and she even has a photo field trip if you take the 3 classes that I was lucky enough to attend. And I still to this day have learned so much, and I can't thank you enough. It made my list. As a matter of fact, we just closed on a listing. I used one of your techniques in the small powder room. We just closed on one day.
The photos looked great, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thanks for teaching me. So it helped a lot. And having the right camera that you turned me on to, that was key too. So, all right, with that, I'm going to turn off my fuzzy hair with this humidity. Every day I get up and look like a Q-tip. So I'm just going to get right into it. And like I said, Taylor's going to be back there. She's going to be answering all the questions. So do feel free to ask questions as we go along. All right, so where we are going to start today. So we are going to do a little role playing today. We're going to cover, what you need to know, where do you actually start? And really, you're going to start researching your listing appointment. And where I do that is the first step is I go into Paragon. If I am just getting a call on listing a property, let's say 41539 Wessel Drive, use my old trusty example here. I want to see, has it been listed before? I want to see how recently did it close? And I want to see all of the details. So where I generally start, because it's fast and easy, and I'm all about that, if you go up to your power search at the top, you're going to simply just start typing in that address. As you can see, it quickly brought up that it has closed 3 times. So I want to take a look at all of those closed records. I want to see the photos of the home. I want to start doing my research and preparing for my listing appointment. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the listings 3 here at the top. And the reason I'm doing is that I want to bring up all the listing records because I'm now putting together all of the data that I am really going to need in order to really do a good CMA on my home. So I can really, in real life, I would take some time and I would go through these. I like to look at all the photos. I like to see all of that information. But there's a couple key pieces here too. One, I want to go into not only just see when it recently closed or what it closed for, so I can see, oh, it was a great listing agent. And I can also see it closed on such and such date. What was the price? Were there concessions? All of that is going to be listed here. I can see what it was, what they were asking for the home when they purchased it, what it sold for. But now I want to do more research. I want to go in and I want to find those extra pieces of the puzzle, right? I want to see, has there been any assessments on it? I want to see, has it gone into possibly sheriff sale? These are all things I want to start researching. And the best way to research a property is by pulling both the real list record and the BS&A record. And you're probably thinking, well, Colleen, why would you pull both of those records? Well, a lot of times, even though there's some information that's going to be the same, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, a lot of times you will find different pieces of information, and sometimes even the same information can differ from the assessor records and what was in the MLS. So I want to start doing my homework. I want to find out all I can about this home. So the first place I like to go, and the trusted record, by the way, is the live BS&A server. And I apologize, it kind of looks like a garbage can, if you will. I apologize about that, because what we did is we took a government pillar. This is supposed to be a government pillar. And when we put in the button, it either made it way too small to see, or it kind of looked like a garbage can. So we kind of joke about it, but it's actually the direct link into BS&A. As a matter of fact, if you're not familiar with all of these little shortcuts, what they actually do is they take you into different programs, but for this specific property. So you're probably thinking, well, why is that important? Well, instead of me having to log out of Paragon, log in somewhere where I can log into BS&A, then putting the municipality, waiting for that to load, then going in and finding the property, that all takes a tremendous amount of time. We can do the same thing, and I can click on this BS&A record right from here, which launches me into BS&A for this specific property. Why that's so helpful, and especially for our My Real Source members on the call, is we do something special here at My Real Source. We want to find ways to give back to our members, and this is one way that we do it. So if you are a My Real Source MLS member, when you click on that button, let's say that there is a fee associated to that particular municipality. Not all municipalities actually charge a fee, so let me start there. But some municipalities charge up to $6 for the property record. That's right. And I know it's only $6, but if you do 10 deals or 10 listings a year, it starts to all add up, right? So what we do is we generally, when you click that button, we then get the bill if you are searching in Macomb County, in Genesee County, in St. Clair County, and in any of the gross points. We've recently just added another, but stay tuned for more coming on that. The idea is we wanted to find a way to give back to our members. So if you are clicking through using this button, it is going to allow you to basically bypass paying that fee where you normally have to get your credit card out. And it will allow you then to see that property record without having to pay that fee. Now, let me just say, we here at My Real Source, we still pay the fee, but it knows to send us the bill instead of you when you use that BS&A link. So just want to point that out. Now, there is also the red button that you see here, and that red button is Real List, and that red button is going to be right over here, kind of looks like that. That red button is another way to research the tax information and the property information, but it's a combined source. And what I mean by that is it takes some information from the MLS, and it takes some information from the actual assessor. And so if you were ever to get into, let's say, a legal dispute, well, really, what you want to use in the case of a legal dispute is you want to use the trusted BS&A record. And we here at My Real Source use the live BS&A server. And the reason that we do that is because we want you to see information up to the minute. We don't want to rely on an outdated feed, because let's face it, if your client had some unpaid property taxes, let's say, if your client has some unpaid property taxes and you're getting ready to close tomorrow, you want them to be able to go down to the city, pay those, and you want to immediately be able to see that they've been paid. So you can use that receipt as your record to still make sure that you can close. So again, just two quick helpful little notes. You can see that this property closed a couple of times. So I've got all those listing records right here. I generally save these or print them as a PDF because I want to include these records in my CMA. One, homeowners always like to see the home before they did all their improvements, and they like to tell you about it, right? When you're sitting at the seller's kitchen table, they want to say, yeah, we took down that hideous wallpaper and we put up all this beautiful wainscoting. I like to have that record in there, again, showing I've done all of my homework and that I have, what they paid for it, what type of financing that they paid, when they actually purchased it. But let's go into the BS&A record. So I'm going to go back to this listing record. So you can kind of see this is the later one here. It actually went on the market on 3/19 of 22. And I'm going to click on that BS&A record, which again kind of looks like that little trash can. Not everybody has the deep linking. So if you don't see the little trash can there, if you are with one of our vendor MLSs that does not have the deep linking, I'm still going to show you how you can find this in the BS&A record. So don't worry. But when you click on that little icon, you can see it brought me directly into that BS&A record. Now I'm going through, I'm seeing how many bedrooms. So I can see very quickly we have 3 bedrooms, we have 1.5 baths. Total square footage is 1361. It was built in 1973. Smaller lot size, it looks like here. Going through, built on a basement. I can see how big the basement is. I can see the size of the garage. I can see all of that right from this record. You can also see things like how the property was conveyed. Was there a quitclaim deed? Was it an arm's length transaction and it went to family? All of that is recorded here. I can see the garage area. I can see that it has forced heat and central air. All of this is coming from the actual assessor. So if you are ever in a legal situation, this is the record they're going to look at. It's coming from one true source, and that is the assessor's office. It's coming directly from them. But it gives me a good starting point to start doing my homework on this property. You're going to find more and more municipalities. Matter of fact, they are supposed to have all of their records on a service like BS&A within the next 5 years because they believe that consumers should be able to get information on properties before they purchase them. So I can also click on the tax information here. And this is a really important one. I just recently had a situation that came up and we addressed the whole situation because I remembered to click on this little tax record here and I printed this out and I added this to my CMA. So let me kind of explain. I went to list a condo and her mother was the original owner. The mother had passed away. And when she called me, she had made mention, she said, I got to sell this condo and it's really a shame because I really love it, but the taxes here are killing me. And, knowing a little bit about where she lived, I thought, it doesn't seem like they should be that crazy. So I printed off the tax information and I added it to my CMA. And sure enough, there were thousands, actually almost, I think, $10,000 in unpaid property taxes. And they seemed extremely high. So I printed this off, made this a page in my CMA. And then when we were going through the CMA, I asked her, I said, it seems like these unpaid taxes seem really high. Tell me about, who owned the condo. She said it was my mom and she passed away and, then it was transferred to me. Well, it had never been homesteaded, something we could very quickly see together when she was explaining. And I asked her, do you, own any other property? She goes, no, this is the first home, I've ever owned. And so I said, well, I think because this should have been homesteaded and wasn't, you might get, some of these taxes waived. So sure enough, we called, I happen to be Clinton Township. We called Clinton Township. made an appointment. We went down and spoke to the assessor, and I'm happy to say that they actually did away with many of those outstanding taxes. She became a client for life because she was so happy somebody took the time to look at it and explain it to her and drive down there with her to help her. And she's just one of those now. She's a friend, and again, every time she buys some things, it's an immediate call, right? It's that extra step. It's having those right things in your CMA so you ask all the right questions. The other thing, more and more municipalities are including things like unpaid water. Just had an unpaid water bill of $720. It's getting expensive these days. A lot of municipalities will have that. Assessments that need to be paid. More and more municipalities are putting that online so it's easily displayed. Permits, things like that, things that needed to be enforced. So here we have permits that were pulled on this property. So I like to include all of these things, especially if there's outstanding taxes or unpaid water bills, because that's, of course, really going to matter when you're doing your net out. So what I do, because I want to include these in my CMA, generally will print these to a PDF, save them on my desktop so that I can easily pull them into Cloud CMA. Okay, so just kind of a little quick recap. What we did is we found that listed property. We went into that kind of looked like a little garbage can that brought us into the BS&A record. But as I mentioned, there's also the real list record. Now, don't worry if you are with one of our vendor MLSs and for any reason you don't see either one of those icons. I'm going to show you how to get there right up here through the tax icons as well. So I'm going to say, you know what? I want to see the real list report on this property. So I've actually clicked on that red button and it's taking me into those property details. This is also where I'm going to see some of the familiar information like school district, city taxes, the legal description, all of that is here. But every once in a while, when you're going through this record, you will see a discrepancy. Like one will say MLS says it has a basement. But maybe the assessor says it's built on a slab. Had one, this is a true story, I swear, only in real estate, you can't make this up. Right, just a couple houses down from the property I pulled up was a person who saw my sign, was getting ready to sell, and invited me over to do a listing presentation. But when I pulled up, I was a little surprised because I could clearly see it was a two-story home. But the assessor's office, so it said MLS, 2 stories, okay? Then next to it, it said tax, meaning coming from the assessor's office, 1 story. So, okay, if I see a discrepancy like that, I know that's a question. It's kind of like a red flag, right? That's a question I want to ask. How could the assessor not notice you had a second level on your home? Turns out this gentleman owned a company where they do sunrooms and dormers, a very popular one actually. And for whatever reason, he put the dormer on his home. So he clearly had now made it another story on his home, but had never pulled a permit. So thankfully I asked that question, and then our very next call was, hey, we should probably talk to the city and make sure we get a permit on that so it doesn't cause any issues. But these are those things that you bring up by simply looking at the tax records and having those in your CMA so that you can address them with your seller. Again, this is another record you can email to yourself or just print so that you can pull it in. And I generally will save these things all in a folder on my desktop. So when I'm doing my CMA, I can just pull them in and they're part of my CMA to go through with my seller. So that's actually where I start when I'm doing my research. So now from here, I've got my details, and now I want to start putting together my listing paperwork. And of course, I want to put together my CMA even before that. So when you're doing a CMA, you're going to go into Paragon. We've started getting our base information. Now we want to search for those comparables. So now that we know what they are, we are going to go into search. We're going to find that like property. So we know we're looking for a residential home. We could clearly see it was a brick ranch. It's got 3 bedrooms. We know that. So I'm now going to go in and start finding my comparables. Of course, location is the most important key, right? So I'm going to go in, I'm going to put like comparables in, but I'm really not going to put the area until the end. And I'm going to show you why. So, of course, the sold properties, that's really what I'm looking for. Sorry, the closed properties. And if you don't know what goes into a particular field like status, you can always click on the magnifying glass to the right and it will show you all of the things that that field may be calling for. So in this case, I want my sold or closed. But I'm kind of old. I've been doing this 24 years now. And I remember my good friend Floyd Wickman, who I love and adore still to this day, funny, funny real estate coach. He's kind of like the Dave Ramsey of real estate, if you know who that is. But he always would say, if you're going to sit at someone's kitchen table, you really should have all of the pendings that are close to him and all of the actives because they know every house in their neighborhood and they think you've probably seen every house in their neighborhood. So I want to make sure that I've included all of those so we can take a look at what their competition is going to be. We can take a look at how long things may be pending. So I want to have all of that in my CMA. Another thing is, and I'll just be honest, I hate these MLS calendars where you have to click on it and then click back 6 months. No, use these nice, easy drop downs because an appraiser in this area is really only going to go back 6 months. So that's what I want to do when I'm putting together my comparative market analysis. All right, next thing I want to do. I'm going to leave off the price because that's really what I'm looking to determine, right? So I'm going to really jump down to structure style. You're never going to compare a 5,000 square foot colonial to a 1-story, 1,000 square foot brick ranch, right? That wouldn't make any sense. So I'm trying to put in as much information as I can. And my goal really is to get between 3 and 5 closed comps, just like my subject property. So in this case, I'm going to start off by putting in structure style. Now, I am aware that some of you may be out in more rural areas. These are starting points. If you're doing a CMA and it's like, a farm where there's, not houses for miles, sometimes you have to go beyond these. Most banks will tell you they won't accept comps outside of a year. 6 months is what they like to use. But every once in a while, if a house is so unique or in the middle of nowhere, sometimes they have to go out past a mile. Sometimes they have to go out past 5 miles. It just depends on how unique that property is. But generally, I'm kind of giving you the general specifics here. Generally, you're going to start with these principles. If you don't get anything, sometimes you have to go back in and refine these a little bit. So I know that that home has 3 bedrooms. So that's what I'm looking for. I know that it had 1.5 baths. And by the way, if you wanted to specify full baths and half baths, a lot of people don't know this. This is a little tip. If you scroll all the way down to secondary criteria here, you will find bathrooms full and bathrooms half. A lot of people don't even know that secondary criteria is there. So if you are looking to be really, really exact, you can use those fields as well. I know this particular home, thanks to the BSNA record, has a basement, also has a garage. So these are all things that I'm plugging in to try to determine what that perfect home would be or what that perfect price would be for that home. But then there's always the question square footage. Well, Colleen, where's the square footage range? You got 1,000 square foot brick ranch. Do you compare it to a 5,000 square foot brick ranch? And the answer is no. The square footage range generally should be within 20%. I have a lot of appraiser friends. I think I've asked about 15 different appraisers over the course of many years, and they all say banks like us to keep it within that 20% square footage range. So how do we do that? Well, we know that the home is 1361. We saw that in the BSNA record. So I'm going to take that and I'm just going to figure out what that 20% range is. Okay, so it comes out to 272. So now I'm going to take that 272. I'm going to add our original square footage. And I know that is then the top end of where I should be. So really, quite honestly, I would put 1,600 in my top end of my square footage. So then what do you do for that bottom? Same exact thing. And if you've been doing this a while, probably is like white noise. You already know it. 1361, you're going to take that 272 off. And then that is going to give you your square footage for the bottom, which we're going to say 1,090. So now we have our square footage 20% range. So we're narrowing it down. We don't want millions of comps. We just want the right comps. Other things that we would want to consider our school district. That's going to be an important one. Other things we'd want to look at is if there's acreage included. That's a really big one. And the year built. If you have a brand new construction home, please don't compare it to a 1930 style home, right? I mean, there's certainly a huge difference there. But of course, right now we've got 4,194 comps. You would be there for several days presenting your CMA. We don't want that. But we didn't put in the most important feature, which of course is location, location, location. So we're going to go into our map search, and how do we search like an appraiser would search? How do we go in and basically make our 1 mile radius in this area? Again, if you're out in a rural area, you might have to go 3 miles, or maybe you want to do 2.5 miles. So let's actually take a look. When your map opens up, if you're not familiar with the mapping, your map is going to open up, and that red X that's displayed there, that's actually showing where your office location is. Now, you can customize that, by the way. If you want it to be from your home, because you primarily work around your home, in your preferences, you can change that. But the big thing is, I want to find out, where is my subject property? How do I draw that circle around it and stay within a mile? So I'm going to go up top here into this field, and I am going to type in the route street address. And what I mean by that is, this is going to use Google Maps. So you want to leave off the ways, the places, the avenues, the things like that. You want to leave all of that off, because less is best when you're searching. And you probably know that if you put in too much information, you get nothing, right? So what we want to do is, even though this is Wessel Drive, I've left off the drive. I've just put in the route street name, comma, the city. I'm going to go ahead, click that magnifying glass, and it hones you right into your subject property, or where you're going to be listing, right? So from here, the next step is, I now want to do a 1 mile search. So I'm going to go up to where it says radius search, and I want to draw my 1 mile search. All right, and you can see comparables are starting to come into my map now. Now, you probably are wondering, why does this comparable have a number? I can quickly see that's pending by simply clicking on it. But these have like a bubble with a number in them. Well, basically, if you were to zoom out, it would start breaking those apart. So you can see now it's not 3, it's 2. But what that means is, 2 of these houses are very close together. And when you're zoomed out, it would be very hard. You know how you sometimes see a flag and there's another flag on top of it, you can't get to it, it's kind of cumbersome? That's all that means, is that there are 2 closed properties that are very close in proximity. So I can just click on the cluster here, and I can actually go through them. And if I actually want to link right back to look at the property record in the MLS, I can do that by simply clicking on that number. So now I can see, yep, I have a few comparables that are starting to flow into my CMA. There are a couple things to note. If you are doing a CMA, let's say across town, and you have not seen the property yet, and you kind of want to see, well, what does the neighborhood look like? Is it an appreciating neighborhood? Is it a depreciating neighborhood, which is very few and far between these days? How do I take a real quick look at what's going on? Well, there's this little yellow Google man over here to the right. And if you click on that little yellow man and you drag them in front of your subject property, you'll actually be able to walk down the street. You'll be able to see the neighbor to the left, the neighbor to the right. I'm going to show you something else really cool. You can also see which is the subject property you're about to list. So see this little flag right here? That is the flag from our map. So I can actually see that that house right here is the house that I'll be listing. And I can check out the neighbor to the right, and again, the neighbor to the left, and even walk down the street. I can see the neighbor to the left, obviously recently sold. So I can see all of this by simply doing that Google view, grabbing that little Google man and dragging him onto my map. A couple other things I wanted to show you is I'm going to use Win, because she's just always got a smile on her face. She's always so pleasant to chat with. She attends all of our classes, and I'm just a big fan of her. So I'm going to use you, Win, if you don't mind. And I'm going to say that Win has just listed these two properties here. And we're going to pretend for a moment that this is beautiful Lake St. Clair. And Wynn has been lucky enough to list these two beautiful properties, and they're $2 million a piece right on the beautiful waterfront. And as happy as I would be for her, because that's a great thing, listing this little tiny house way off of the water. And if I were to actually add in all those waterfront listings, well, that's going to really screw up my CMA, right? It's not going to be very accurate. Or I can go back in and deselect a whole bunch of things. But again, that would be kind of a pain. So what if I told you you can actually draw a shape on a shape and simply exclude that waterfront area? Not that we're not happy for Wynn. Excited she's got her $4 million listing inventory right there, but I don't want to include that in my CMA because it's not going to be really comparable to my home. So I'm going to go up to these drawing tools that you see here. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to use the polygon because I think that's the easiest personally. And I'm literally going to click and create a waterfront shape here, excluding the waterfront from my CMA. And I know what you're going to think. You're going to say, Colleen, lady with the fuzzy hair, why did you say it excluded it? It just put another box on it. Well, there's one more step. You're actually going to click edit, and instead of including it, you're going to exclude it. Now, any of those beautiful Wynn listings that are on the water, those are going to be removed from my CMA, and I don't have to go deselect a lot of listings. The other thing this allows you to do is if you are, let's say you're listing a home in a new construction area, and in your 1 mile, most of that sub that you're seeing is all new construction. But a little bit of that sub has some of those 1930 style brick ranches that aren't anything like your 4,000 square foot new construction home, right? So that would be another good example of maybe pardoning off an area of your radius so that you're not including a bunch of homes that you don't want to. If you make a mistake, remember, you can always remove these shapes by simply clicking on the X to the right here. But let me give you another example. With this very low inventory market, and by the way, Taylor and I do a great low inventory class. We got one coming up, I think, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's the end of this month. But it's all the tools to go out and get more listings, because that's really what we all need, right? And they're not tools you have to buy or subscribe to. They're tools that you already have within the MLS. They're lead generation tools. But let's say that you've just done your search and nothing comes up. And you're like, well, maybe I should go out 5 miles. Well, you go out 5 miles, now you have 400 listings. What if I told you you could actually work with this circle and drag it open just a little bit to see if anything is kind of on the fringe? Let me show you what I mean. So we've got our radius here, but if I want to click in the middle here, I can actually create these little dots that I can open or tweak just slightly to see if they're up. And there was. That was a good example. I didn't even plan that. I just opened that up a little bit more, and another flag now, another comp for me to use, popped in. So if you don't want to go too far, you don't want to just put in 2.75 or 3 or 4. You kind of just want to drag it open a little more, see if there's anything out on the fringe so you don't get a ton of properties. That's a great way to do it. Draw your radius, click into the actual box here. It'll make this expandable. And now all you have to do is open up a little bit, and you can see we added an extra comp in. So not hard. When you're ready to close it, click on it again. Yes.
Our low inventory class is July 9th at 10 a.m.
Thank you. She's very quick.
I'm going to put the link in for everybody in the chat too, if that's something.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. She's so good. It would have taken me a lot longer to find that, so thank you. All right, so we've now got our comps, we've put in our criteria, we're building our comparative market analysis to tell that seller what their home is worth. If you got all the way to this step and you're not getting any comps, or you've gotten too many, remember, one of the nice features about Paragon is that you can bounce back to your criteria at any time. You can see what you've added in here. That's a pretty good number considering that I have added actives and pendings. So I think I'm on the right track here. Let's go ahead and run our search and let's see what we got in the way of how many actives, how many pendings, because you want to make sure you've got some closed because that's obviously the important one. So I have some closed here. I have 4 closed. That's a really good number. I was shooting for 3 to 5. I also have those ABOs, by the way, in case I haven't gone on a rant lately. That is my least favorite property status. Because accepting backup offers, guess what? In Michigan, if you have a license, we've always accepted backup offers. What that means is there's a pending offer on the property, and they're going to continue to market it. Let's face it, that's really what it means. So we want to include those in here too. But I kind of have a little OCD, so this is where I would like it to be sorted. So I go up to the column heading, I click on the word status here, and I can see now my ABOs are with my ABOs, closed with closed, pending. If I had any actives, those would be sorted as well. I kind of like it. My brain works a little bit better when it's a little more organized. The next thing I would encourage you to do is obviously go in and take a look at these. You don't just want to assume, oh, yep, they're all perfect, because some things can, obviously, if it hasn't been updated since 1930, that does make a difference in your price range, right? So in most cases, I would now go in, I would kind of review these comps and decide, does that look like my subject property? Because of time today, I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is just kind of select these and show you the magic button, if you will. The magic button looks like a little plug up here at the top. One more quick thing that I always get asked about, so I just try to bring it up. Under this agent name that you're seeing here, this is something I added. And the reason I added it is, doing this for 24 years, you have agents that you absolutely love working with, right? Especially if these were active properties I was going to show. Not that I wouldn't show any agent's, I would show any agent's homes. But I'll tell you what, my good friend Dominic Torres, I would put his homes because one, he's one of my favorite people, and he's a great agent. I actually started with him in Century 21 Key, forever and a day ago. And I have had some great closings with him. So if I had 10 properties that I was going to show, guess what? He would be at the top of the list, not the bottom. So if you would like to add an agent name to your results so you can see who has the property listed in a quick glance, you can actually add in under customize any field. This was a field that I found particularly helpful. I like to be able to see who had the property listed in case I have a question or I want to be able to call them. So you can always go to customize and you can add in any field that makes your CMA easier. Really simple to do. You simply click on customize fields. Basically any field in your right box is going to show up in your search results. So if you wanted, let's say you wanted activation date to be in your search results, you could just check it, hit add. By the way, once you've done that, you can also drag and drop these where you want them. You can put them in the order you want them. I tell people on your search results, if you're always scrolling over to see important information, stop doing that. Because I'm going to tell you what, closed price per square foot, that is a big deal in a CMA. That might be something you want to have way over here. So you can drag them that way, or you can go into customize and drag them in the order you want. So don't be afraid to customize it. You can always go back and change it. You can't break it, but make sure that you're making it easy for you to find exactly what you're looking for in your CMA. All right, a couple different ways you can do CMAs. I absolutely love, one of my absolute favorite products is Cloud CMA. There's a whole class on that, so I'm not going to get too deep into that, but they have a new interactive Cloud CMA that allows you to adjust it on the fly while sitting at the seller's kitchen table. There's an interactive comp map. If a neighbor asks or inquires, why didn't you use this comp? You can actually just click on the street and pull a comp in on it does some really, really cool things. So if you have not taken the cloud class, this is a definite plug for that. It is a great tool and it makes a wowing presentation. I'm going to show you really quick, but we're not going to go into building one because that's a different class. If, let's say Wynn, and I don't even know if Wynn has a brother, but we're going to use Wynn again. Let's say Wynn got a call from her brother and her brother says, you know what, Wynn, I was just wondering, the missus and I are wondering, what do you think our house would go for? So she's not going to meet with them and do a fancy CMA. They're not there yet, right? She just kind of wants to know the numbers. So Wynn could go over to reports and she could scroll down to the CMA folder. And Win could say, you know what, let me just do a quick view for you. You can, by the way, you can customize this quick view. So you could actually add in things like acreage or your build or other fields. So if you have a unique house that has something unique and you want to stack it up to other houses that may have that, you can customize this and add it in. So I love that. I can then go through these kind of stacked side by side to see how they stack up against the property. And but let's say Win isn't even going to show them that. Win just wants, for her own knowledge, she wants to know, what is the breakdown here? What are we looking at? What's the price per square foot? What's the average days on market? What are we looking at? So Win could actually go right down here to reports and just do a CMA summary. That will actually give you the price per square foot, that important number that we need to know. It'll show actives, solds, and pending. If you got all the way here and you realized, I didn't really mean to include that one, you can deselect one. But I love this if you just want a quick view of the numbers yourself. Of course, though, if you are looking for that wowing presentation, which is probably 90% of us when we're doing our CMAs, right? The easiest way to do that and pull them all into a great interactive presentation for your seller is through that Actions button, clicking Cloud CMA. What it does is it actually pulls all of those properties without having to rekey in anything into this beautiful report for your seller. So I'm just going to show you one real quick just to kind of give you an example. This was a home I just closed last week. I'm gonna pull this up real quick so you can just kind of, these are the pictures that Taylor helped me get better at taking because, like I said, her class, I thought I did a pretty okay job, but there was a lot more to be desired, and I didn't even realize it. But what this does, and you can actually display this in several different ways. You can do a PDF that you could go ahead and you could simply show this maybe from your laptop or your desktop. Get those up here. I did. I'm going to reopen this. My PDF editor has been kind of acting funny here, so I'm just going to reopen this. But of course, you can show it in a PDF format. I generally, I'm not a big print person anymore. I like to be able to show it in a way that is going to make sense to the homeowner. I think it's the stupid advertising that keeps popping up. There we go. When you do the PDF version, as you're seeing here, it's going to allow you, let me see if I can just shrink this down a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. It's going to allow you to have all of your branding and information at the bottom. As we go through our report, it's going to have things like my company information, which is automatically applied for you, a contact me page. You can add a QR code. And here you can see I've brought in that real list record. And I also, another big fan of, brought in the BSNA record, but I love Kubicasa. Did a floor plan of their, it literally took me 7 minutes to create an entire floor plan, just walking through their home. It's our new product. I think Taylor's going to talk a little bit about it in just a few moments. It's a brand new floor plan app. It is a free member benefit. And it's going to talk about, things that you need to know, but up to 5,000 square feet free. After that, it's like 11 bucks. I don't know where you could create a floor plan for 11 bucks, even if it's over 5,000 square feet. But it does some very, very cool things. I also am a big fan of showing the homeowner what is going on in their market. So I sat down with her. We did this I sat down with her in April. We just closed her home up. And I could show her, I gave her a price range, but I could show her very easily what's going on in her market. We were down 42% in inventory because this looks at March of 2023 versus March of 2024. So there were 89 homes on the market when in 23. Now there's only 51. So basically we're down 43% in inventory, right? Wow. Next, as we go up to our average sales price, that's really telling the story, right? Supply and demand. There is not enough supply. Therefore, demand here is going for about 50,000 more in 1 year on our average sales price. So amazing numbers. I think it also breaks down condos separately, but these are all things that I do every time I do a CMA. I want to give them as much information. One, it shows I do my homework. Two, I want to give them as much information to make the right decisions. Um, Again, there's an interactive version. We'll show you that in cloud, but I also like that it allows you to bring in all the interior photos. I like that because if they say, well, did Joe Schmagegi have a finished basement? I want to be able to show, yeah, actually he had a finished basement, or no, he didn't. I want to be able to tell that story. So when they ask me the questions, I like having all of those photos. Well, did he have an updated kitchen? We updated our kitchen. Well, actually, they did. And so it really helps. I love the analysis pages that they write for you too. So properties in her neighborhood were selling for 105% of their list price when the average days on market was 13. I think our days on market were 4, so even less, but it was a pretty stunning house. So the credit definitely goes to her. Does break down our footage price per square foot. There's some marketing pages you can add in here, but it makes a wowing presentation. And it's one that if I'm going to sit with a seller, I really want to be proud of the way it looks. You can kind of see, should have actually done this, but I didn't want it to freeze up again. When you open the PDF, this is what your PDF will look like. You can obviously go through it page by page. I prefer the interactive version now because it does some really cool things and it allows the seller to ask more questions as you're going through the report. But that is Cloud CMA. So now we're going to say, what did we do so far? We did our research on our property, right? We then found out what we needed to know. How many bathrooms? How many bedrooms? What's our square footage? Are they in trouble? Are they losing the house? Did it go to sheriff's sale? All the stuff that we really need to know that sometimes the homeowners don't tell us, which is unfortunate. Now I've put together my comps. I went into Paragon. I know what I'm looking at. I know the suggested price I'm going to walk in with. Now, of course, I want to be ready. So what do? I want to make sure I have all of my forms ready. So how do you create a listing so that you can now go in and you can have them sign on the dotted line and get that listing into the system? So, and as you can see, I'm throwing a lot at you. This is why we record the classes. So we're doing A to Z, soup to nuts today. So from here, where do I go in to actually start the listing paperwork? Remember, all of your agent tools are under resources. So obviously that's where I'm going to go. And I'm going to go right to the online form section. If you are with Real Estate One, for instance, they utilize ZipForm. So if you can click on ZipForm, we do give the integration for the push and the pull. We are big fans of Transaction Desk and AuthentiSign that we provide for our members. So I'm actually going to go in there. But both ZipForm and Transaction Desk offer this great capability to do what we call an MLS upload. So let me kind of show you that. So I'm going to go into Transaction Desk and I want to prepare that listing paperwork. I now want to go in and act as if I'm going to walk out of that listing, and hopefully you are, with those signed contracts so I can get it in the MLS. So I'm going into Transaction Desk, but I want to show you a shortcut because the last thing you want to have to do is put in a lot of information on a property that already exists. Same thing in ZipForms. By the way, those programs are being transitioned. You're going to see them looking more and more like one another as ZipForm was recently acquired by Lone Wolf. And the goal is to have one shiny dashboard down the way, not still for a little while, but they're looking more and more alike every day. So as we go into Transaction Desk, now I want to go in, I want to add the details for our listing. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to say add. And I want to start our paperwork. And I always like to start my paperwork with the address, because if you put Bob Schmagegi and Bob Schmagegi buys 3 houses from you, well, now every time I'm looking for that particular file, I got to open 3 files to see it. So what I recommend is always doing the property address. And then if you want, put Bob Schmagegi after it. You can always do that. Also having a template, that's key because we're doing a listing. I want all my listing forms to pop up. I want to make this really easy. As you can see, once I apply my listing package, it knows I'm the listing agent. I'm good to go. But next, I now want to import the data from the tax records. Here's where you need to know the trick. Unfortunately, our tax records in Michigan are sixth worst in the state, meaning we are at the very bottom of the list, sadly. In California, there are over 50 required tax fields that must be filled out. They have very good tax records all online for consumers to see. However, in Michigan, not so much. There are whole communities and areas of the state that have nothing online, and you can't pull the data from anywhere, which is very frustrating. So for me, when I go into this, I want to pull as much information as the assessor's office has. So what I want to start with is I want to go into Realist. Again, kind of looked at Realist earlier on, but I want to do it by address because I'm going to be honest, no agent I know memorizes tax IDs, right? We know addresses. So I don't want to have to do a bunch of lookup. The whole idea is to make this easy. So I'm going to go to the magnifying glass over here to the right, and I'm going to say that the property I'm looking up is in Macomb County. But here is the secret. You only want to fill out these 3 fields. And the reason I prepped you about tax records is our tax records are very limited in Michigan. So if you put in anything extra, I can almost promise you that it will not return your result you're looking for. What I mean, don't put in the tax number, don't put in the zip code, don't put in their last name. Because sometimes they have it hyphenated, sometimes they have it abbreviated, and it will not pull. Here's what you do put in. You put in just the street number, the county, and the route street name. You see how it says don't include the suffix, leave off the ways, the places, the drives, the avenues, the circles, the courts, leave them off. You want to just have, this is Wessel Drive, we're going to do Wessel, and I want to be able to search the tax record with only those 3 pieces. Now I'm going to go ahead and start my listing right from the tax records. And look how much information it pulls. It does some really cool things here. Not only did it start pulling the address, the school district, the city, the county, the lengthy legal description, the township, the tax number, all of that information is starting to flow right into my listing packet, into my listing agreement, into my listing forms. But the next thing is when you go to step 3, it also pulls in the seller's names and it actually labels them as the seller. So if you are sending their contracts via e-signature, aka if you're using Zipform Mobile, if you're using DocuSign and the Zipform side, if you are using Authentisign, which is my personal favorite on the transaction desk side, if you're utilizing any of those, it knows where the seller's supposed to sign on all of those forms. And sellers can even go in and fill out their seller's disclosure form. That's right. I know it sounds too good to be true, but you can. You can actually send your seller's disclosure form directly to the seller to fill out right from their email. All they have to do is hit save. It comes back to you. They can print out a copy. It's very cool. They've even recently made a change that allows you to fill it out and sign it in the same step, which is pretty cool. So a lot of cool things happening here. I love that it puts the seller's name right here, and it's going to auto tag all of my forms where that seller is going to sign. Because I've applied my listing packet, all of the forms that my company requires, and it is a lot, let me tell you, all the forms are populating and are right here for me to go in and take a look and review. The other thing here that I want to show you is one of the best features, I think, and that is with our data sheet. The last thing you want to have to do is go in and fill out a bunch of paperwork, then hand it to your admin. She's got to read your writing and put in that listing. Then she's trying to answer the phone and do all these other things, right? And it takes some time. What if I told you by simply filling out the data sheet here, you could create the listing in the MLS? Yes, that's right. You can actually create a partial listing right from the data form. So how it works is I have the data form up. By the way, every single association, even if you're with a different MLS or association, if you're not a My Real Source member, let's say you're a member of A or Saginaw or Midland or UPAR, or wherever you're coming from, maybe you're belonging to CBAR, this form is available to you as well. It is in the My Real Source library. and it's labeled data form, residential condo. And the key to this form is you're going to fill out any of the red required fields. Now, I'm going to be honest, as an agent, I fill out this form before I will go and do it in Paragon because I like that I can copy and paste the room measurements right into this easy form without having to expand all of those little panels. I love that the features are all laid out. I don't have to open feature categories to see them. I love that I can just go right down the list, check off what I want to have it input. Now, where this gets really cool is once you've got this done, and this is always where I get the same question, so I'll just address it right here. Well, Colleen, if I don't have the listing yet, how do I know what I'm filling in here? Well, you'd still know at this point if it's 3 bedrooms, if it's 2 bathrooms, if it's built on a basement, if it's on a garage, you would know all that. So what I tell people is when you're doing your listing forms, fill out this form as much as you know. You're right. You might not know the room measurements yet. You certainly don't know the final listing price if you haven't even approached the subject with them yet. But I fill in as much information into this form as I can, and then I save it. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm of course filling out my exclusive right to list, my agency disclosure. I'm, helping them understand what a lead-based paint disclosure is, right? So I'm filling out all of my forms at the same time. When you have the listing, when you walk out of there and you're on cloud nine because they just signed and you're putting the listing in tomorrow, I go back into this form. I then fill out any missing pieces, like what those room measurements were, what that final list price is. Now I click the upload listing button. What that's doing is it's actually creating a partial listing in Paragon. So there's 2 types of listings. Think of it, well, there's many types of listings, but there's 2 I'm going to refer to. One is you can put a listing in, you can hit save, and of course that listing is live, ready to go, right? But the other is a partial, meaning you're saving it. Maybe they're not quite ready to list yet, or maybe you're just starting to add the information. You haven't gone on the actual appointment yet. You can actually save a listing as a partial, and that's really what it's doing. It's creating a partial listing that you can see, but your office admins can see it as well. So, for instance, let's say that your office admin is going to go in and add your photos for you, or they're going to review it to make sure you don't have any finable offenses. And by the way, coming up, there's probably more admins that are going to be doing that with some of the NAR settlement changes coming. So what I'm telling you is if your admin or your brokerage has the policy that they have to review it first, they, instead of rekeying 300 fields of information, they can simply pop open your partial listing and they can add in whatever additional information they need to or review it. Taylor's going to go into adding photos and all that good stuff. But let's say you also wanted to add your filled out seller's disclosure so it's part of your documents. You can go right over here to the left. All the base information is already here, everything we filled into our data sheet. Now, all I want to do is I want to go in and I want to add my seller's disclosures. Let's actually do one. I'm going to go in, I'm going to add. And all I'm doing is I'm pulling in my seller's disclosure from, I'll grab the one we just closed on. I know that's there because I had to turn it in. All right, so I'm going to go into, here's my estate trans, there we go. Going to go into my real estate transactions and I'm going to grab my disclosure. Simply going to double click on it. Of course, I want to give it a name. So I'm going to call it seller's disclosure, or lead-based paint disclosure. Or I just saw a great one. My friend Ed had his property flyer in there. He had information about the home, had information on the basement. They did a V-Drive system, so it had the warranty information in there. I thought that is great. I loved seeing that. All of that information. I also tell people, why are you not putting your bylaws and your rules and regs in there for condos? I hate it when I have to call multiple times to find out, can you have a dog? It'd be really nice if people just put those things there and made it really easy. You can also mark documents public or private, and then you can simply upload them. Remember, if you make them public, clients can even see that in the Collab Center, so they can even review sellers' disclosures. So it makes it just that much easier. So remember, admins can also update your partial listings. All right, so I think that takes me to where my good friend Taylor is going to take over. Again, I would recommend filling out your paperwork here. You can easily print it or send it for signatures using Authentisign, or if you're a zip form user, you can do the same. But I certainly think it's a lot nicer when everything is auto-populating, as you see here, right from the tax records. By the way, there are classes on Transaction Desk and Authentisign. But with that, Taylor, can I kick it over to you here?
Yes, please do.
All right. Should have already been working on that. All right, coming your way. Oop, little pop-up I missed. There you go.
All right.
Did you get it?
Yep, I think so. So let me make sure I have my, all right. Are you seeing Paragon right now?
I see it. Looks good.
Okay, cool. All right, well, I am going to go through assume identity right now. I'm going to also go into the features when you are finalizing your listing entry within Paragon, adding photos, all those little extra marketing things that you can do within listing entry. And then I'm also going to show you our single property website that we have custom designed for every single one of our listings that you get as a member of My Real Source, so that you can get your listing out on social media, send it out. What's really nice, there's some really nice features to this website that I'll go over. But that's what I'm going to dive into now after Colleen got that listing started in Paragon. And what she did is she saved it as a partial. When it gets pushed over and she finalizes all those fields, or starts to finalize all those fields, it stays as a partial. So I'm going to go into that right now, turn off my camera, and then Colleen, if you get any questions, let me know.
All right, sounds good.
All right. All right, so the first thing I would like to go over, though, before I dive into the sample listing, is assume identity. So assume identity is a feature that's really nice for when you are working with an office admin or you have an assistant. This is a feature that is available that we can turn on for you if that's something that you would like. So let's say that I was Colleen's office admin and she just got that listing data sheet started and she pushed it in to her account. It's saved there under her listings. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of help her. I'm going to add some of those remaining things. I'm going to add those photos for her to approve, any kind of promotional links that she sent me, so that her listing is ready to go when she's ready to push it live. So as an office admin, I am signed in as myself. It's tracking me. Anything that I do to one of the agents in the office, we have record of all that. So now I can go in and I can edit Colleen's listing if I wanted to, or her partial listing, by simply going up into the top right corner and hit assume identity. So anybody that I have assume identity access to will show up as an option. I can quickly search them if I want to as well. And now I can go in and it's tracking it as Taylor, but I am in as Colleen, if that makes sense. So if I did a price change for her or anything like that, we would be able to see that timestamp and then that login of who did that. So now I am in as Colleen. I can go under her listings and then access her partials or her active listings if I wanted to. So that sample listing that she started from researching in tax records, pushing it over from the listing data sheet, that's going to be hanging out there in these partials under the listing tab. So that's just one thing that I would like to point out as a nice feature that is available in Paragon if that's something that you would be interested in. Another thing that is really great about this partial feature that I want to go over, when you go up into the listing tab and you want to finalize that listing, you have that option to push it live when you're ready to push it live and it's perfect. And you want to make sure that you do not make it live until you've done all the things that I'm going to show you. Not just basic required fields, not just the bare minimum. And this is because the way the data flows through My Real Source and everywhere else. So as soon as you save that listing, it is live in Paragon. It's live to all of our vendored MLSs right away. And within an hour, it's sent through data sharing. So anybody that we have direct data sharing with, they are seeing that listing. It's usually around a half an hour actually, but can be up to an hour depending on when it gets pushed. And then it's also sent out through IDX and syndication. So when you push that, you want that first impression to have all the photos and captions and descriptions and all those marketing links, because the way that these get sent over is a new listing alert. And we know how hungry everybody is for that new listing alert to come through. So you don't want to just do the bare minimum, make it live, and then go in a couple days and add those links and add more photos and take that time to do that. Because what happens is they don't get that listing alert and that push notification anymore. It's just a media file update. So therefore it takes longer because a new listing alert gets top priority for being pulled. And the push notifications do not go through for just a media file update. So just moving forward, keep that in mind. Make sure you are using, when you are entering a listing and all the steps that Colleen showed, you are saving it as a partial, because you can easily go right in here under the listings button, access your partials, and have that final little look through, make sure everything you need is in there and ready to go. So I'm going to open up that sample listing. Right now it's just basically a draft as a partial. And just when you are keying in your remaining fields that you need to add that didn't get sent over from auto-populated from tax records and the data sheet, if there's anything else, what I really like about it is I can just tab. It breaks it up into containers for you too, so it's not too overwhelming to look at, but I can just simply tab through, type what I need to type through, and then close each container as I've done it, which is nice. It's not a majillion pages that I have to hit and it loads and goes on to the next, and can't remember what page I was on where I added something. It's all really labeled nicely right here for in containers for you. One other thing that's nice is down here within the tours, you can add up to 4 marketing videos. So if you want to do your own custom virtual tour that you use just on your own iPhone, recorded it and put it up on your YouTube channel where you're narrating, you can do a branded one and an unbranded one. So that means that, for the branded, you can introduce yourself, your brokerage, say a little something about you, and then go into the property. And then for unbranded, it's just 123 Main Street and show off the property. This is something that moving forward, if you aren't already doing, any promotional vendor that you use from a photography company, a videography company, anybody that does any kind of tours for you or anything like that, always ask for a branded and an unbranded, because if the way the system works, depending on the field, you have multiple options. So if you wanted to do an aerial video and a virtual tour, you wanted to do kind of like a commercial style video, lifestyle video, and then you wanted to do an interactive floor plan link, you can have a branded version of each one and an unbranded version of each one. And the system pulls all these fields for many different purposes, but these 4 different fields get pulled to the proper places. So the unbranded is going to go to, within the MLS tools, it's going to go in through, IDX, and then anything that is more of like public facing where you want your branding, such as syndication, your single property website, things like that, it'll actually pull the branded for you. So it'll have that your name and your brokerage and your colors and all of that. So just keep in mind that if you wanted to use these fields, if you aren't already, you actually have up to 4, which is really cool. So I'm going to show you one option that you have. You can, of course, hire lots of different vendors out there and professionals out there to create stuff on your properties and promote you. But Colleen did such a great job. And I think a lot of agents, should still utilize these companies, but they're missing the opportunity to just really give that great narration of a property that you have, and it can just be done on your phone. So I'm going to show one that Colleen did that I thought was really great. This is her branded one. She just used her iPhone. She went into, pulled up the video on her phone. With the iPhone, you have a Clips app, and right there is when you can actually drag that video in. And if you need to trim a little part of it where, it kind of jumps around, you can go in and do that. And then just save that video right to your phone. So when you have that, then you can put that on your YouTube channel. More and more agents are using YouTube channels to promote themselves, promote their listings. You can have a file that you work with from all of your other videographers or photographers, and just kind of build your YouTube channel and get subscribers on there and put out content. So that's one thing that I strongly recommend, and I love that Colleen did this. So let me just kind of give you a little snippet of what she did and recommend maybe giving this a shot moving forward too.
Everyone, Colleen DeLang with Keller Williams Lakeside. Want to take you on a property tour of a new listing at 50839 Marshall Lane in beautiful downtown New Baltimore. Actually, we're just steps away from beautiful Lake St. Clair as well. So let me take you on a tour. Stepping inside here, we have an entrance to the 1.5 car garage. We walk right into the living room. It does have a gas fireplace. And then just off to the left, we have a full first floor bathroom. And then just over here, we have a dining room just off the kitchen.
So Colleen walked through this whole house, how you would kind of, present a tour, going through first level, back yard, make your way upstairs, talk about little features of the home. Only a couple minutes long, short and sweet, but this is a really cheap way, or affordable way, free way to market a listing, doing that great service for your seller, helping bring in those buyers, more offers coming in. And you don't have to just do this. You can also work with another, a professional to have a mix of both. So that is all within the tours section of your listing entry under maintain listing. Now, once you've filled out all these fields, tabbed through each container, you can hit save as a partial and come back later, or you can go through each one of these sections. And so now I'm going to go into add and edit pictures. So within my add and edit pictures, I've already uploaded photos to kind of give you some little examples of some techniques that you can use. I go into this a lot deeper in my photography program, but I at least am going to point out a couple things from a listing entry standpoint, things that you should be adding to your listing. So when you upload your photos, you can actually upload 99 at a time. We have 3072 by 2304 resolution, so the PPI there is really high without being so high that it takes forever to load. It's going to be really crisp, really sharp, but my favorite feature about that is that it has no border. So when you open up a photo and you want to zoom in, it's not going to be pixelated, but it also isn't going to be it's not a small file where you're getting this heavy border or anything like that. So we actually doubled our resolution about 1.5 years ago. It was still high, but as technology evolves, you want to just keep up that resolution and that quality as it goes. So when you upload multiple photos, you can do 99 at a time. Loads fairly quickly. You'll see each photo turn green as it loads in like a little list going on right here. You can grab that from your computer. Once you've uploaded them, It'll display the photos in these little squares. It will upload them in the order of the file, alphabetical or numerical, depending on, you know, the numbers that photos that you chose. So 1, 2, 3, but let's say you didn't use 3, it's going to go 1, 2, 4. And then once you look at the flow of the photos, you have the option to drag and drop. So one thing that I recommend for uploading your photos is to kind of think about the flow of your photos to create that continuity. They have never been to this listing. A floor plan definitely helps greatly, which I'm going to talk about that. But when you have a combination of a flow of photos that make sense, giving transitional photos, which I'll point out a couple of those for you, a floor plan, covering the, you know, the proper order of photos, it is a great way to, it's a simple way to market your listing, really. It's just kind of the basic essentials to be using. So dragging and dropping in the suggested order, I'm going to tell you in just a moment. Really easy. Once you've done that, you'll see that there's a little red pen, I guess, and this allows you to edit the image. So you can crop the photo, you can rotate it. So let's say you took photos with your smartphone. It changes the orientation, but sometimes depending on if you took the photo upside down, the file itself might come through upside down. Well, a lot of times back in the day, you had to change the orientation in some photo editing program that was maybe free on your computer. No longer need to do that. You can go in, you can change that orientation really easily, crop as you need to. One thing that I hope to have added is a little editing slider, just some basics for you. That should be here in the editing feature. Hopefully it's on, you know, a wish list that we've sent to Paragon. So keep that, you know, in mind that that could be coming soon. Now the order of the photos is kind of, imagine if you were coming home after a long day of work or just giving a nice professional tour to somebody. So you choose. But what I did for this sample listing I'm going to show you is just covering that first main floor. Coming home either from the front door or the mudroom, which I did, going into the main spaces, the kitchen, the living room, whatever one is the closest to where you started. So this one, for example, I came in through the mudroom, so right from the garage, and now I'm jumping into the main space from here, which is the kitchen. You get a little teaser that the living room is over here, but I'm going to do a couple different angles of the kitchen, maybe throw in a creative close-up shot here and there, which I love to do. I teach you all of those techniques in my photography program. This is a transitional shot. I also use the captions and descriptions here to kind of tell you where this connects. This actually connects to the formal dining room. Then I go into the formal dining room to show you so it makes sense. And now you're able, you saw the kitchen, you saw the mudroom, it makes sense where we came in. You see the, you know, where it tied in with the dining room. And now we're in the living space. I'm also very importantly using captions and descriptions. So there's no confusion if I do jump around a tad, or I don't know if I'm looking at the primary bedroom or the second bedroom. You know, using your captions and descriptions is really important for adding your listings. Now the flow of the photos, I go through that main level, the main room, any of the sub rooms like a half bath, office, the dining room, kind of just covering that full main floor. Then I move into the bedrooms. I start with the primary bedroom and then the bathroom that goes with that bedroom. Then I move on to the next bedrooms, and then in between is the bathroom that goes with whatever bedroom that you're showing. So not every bedroom, of course, has a bathroom attached to it or anything like that. But what I recommend is, not doing a bulk of bedrooms and then not labeling it, and then a bulk of bathrooms and it's just, all over the place. I've seen plenty of listings coming through, especially when I was looking for homes of this beautiful kitchen, but it looked kind of small. And then it jumps to another kitchen a little bit later. They actually, at the beginning, had the basement kitchen, this little kitchenette-ish kind of space, which is nice and all, but it felt a little deceiving. It felt a little disconnected. And I was kind of confused looking at a lot of listings that came through. So the flow of your photos using captions and descriptions is really important. And then conclude with your outdoor photos, basement, garage, things like that. But what I do recommend for if you have something that's a really important, feature to the home, it's on a lot of land, it's on a lake, it has a beautiful pool and great landscaping in the back, close to downtown, walkable. Of course, have one photo of that maybe at the front to really plant that seed, and then conclude with that positive 2 at the end. So to add those captions and descriptions, I showed you how you can edit the photo, right? Or you can crop it, you can rotate it, but you can easily add captions and descriptions by clicking, it will say add label. I already added my labels and descriptions, but this is where I'm going to title that primary bedroom, that downstairs kitchen, things like that, so that it's very obvious. But I also like to use the descriptions as a way to kind of sell the home too. This is a little bit of a pitch. This is, selling, like living in this home. So this circular driveway, that's great for entertaining, pointing out things on the home that, is a really little nice feature, such as these custom built-ins in the mudroom. We all know a mudroom is great, but it has these great little custom built-ins for backpacks and purses and winter gear, space for your bills and receipts, so a little desk so your counters are free of clutter. Yes, please, I would like a little mudroom like this. And then throughout each room, not always every room, but like the kitchen, the living room, little spaces that have some nice features to them, I like to do a close-up shot and then point that out, this nice feature, these backsplashes. Not every home has all these little details, of course, but maybe a nice light fixture, something like that, to try to break up those photos, help them remember this listing. Do your clients a service. Now, when you are putting your flow of photos, that's that entrance photo. We don't need 5 front of the house photos, okay? We need maybe 1, and then we want to have enough sky. What I call it is the rule of thirds. So the first third should be the sky, the middle third should be the front of the home, the full home, and the bottom third should be some of the yard. And then you want to follow that with a floor plan. So I'm going to show you guys Cuba Casa here in just a couple minutes. You get a basic free floor plan up to 5,000 square feet on every one of your listings as a My Real Source member. So every listing, our goal is to have every listing with a floor plan. You want to have that right after the primary photo so that you're setting that continuity of the flow of the home right off the bat. And then dive into either entrance from the front door, the garage, into like the kitchen or something along those lines, and use your captions and descriptions to describe that. An example of a transitional photo, let me pull this up, is when you go from room to room, you either want to have your photo of the previous room show a little bit of the room that you're going to next, or do a special transition shot, which I will show you an example. And then if you cannot do either of those, then you can use captions and descriptions. So this one, for example, was kind of hard to show the dining room in relation to this kitchen area and the living room because it was its own little separate hallway. So what I did is I had, a couple different angles of this kitchen space. You saw the living room was over here, and then there was this long countertop. So by pointing it out in the descriptions that this is that little butler's quarter, it connects to the formal dining room. This is a great space for platters, desserts, and drinks to enjoy space while you're eating dinner. And then I go into the formal dining room. So this was a hard one to just kind of show with the main spaces. Granted, you can tell that this is a foyer. You can see another room over here, but you want to have that flow make sense. Now, another example is, get to this one up here. I like to shoot from higher up once in a while. I like using railings as lines to flow through, help, flow your eyes down throughout the frame. But one thing too is like you see a little snippet over here, something's over here. So what makes sense to follow is that space. But I also pointed out where the space was in case they missed it. So I didn't jump from the kitchen and a little bit of the living room to now this office space. But I also used the descriptions to talk about that this is near the living room and a perfect space to work from home, read, relax. And then another angle, and this other angle shows where it is from the hallway, but I point out that it's right next to the half bath. So as you're able to kind of tie in where you are in the home, that following photo should make sense using your descriptions. This is taking your listing to the next level for many, I should say. Now, let me go. Now here is just a straight transitional shot. There's nothing that was shown about this space from the beginning, okay? I am just addressing that transition that we have moved upstairs now. So when I jump to the primary bedroom, now you know that it's upstairs because a lot of primary bedrooms are on the main level and then, 2 bedrooms upstairs and a bathroom. No, I made sure to do a transitional shot just of this hallway that's mentioned in the descriptions that this connects all bedrooms, upstairs bathroom, laundry room, and a bonus room. So I'm going to go in that order: the primary bedroom and then the bathroom that goes with each bedroom. Go through all of that. And now if I go to the second bedroom, let's say, I also have the bathroom that is near that follows suit. So it all kind of comes together. Now, once I've added the captions and the descriptions, if I were an admin, I would do the best that I could and then make sure I save it as a partial for Colleen to go in and do her final tweaks. Her flow that we recommend, her captions and descriptions, and she's actually been the one that's there. And then once she's satisfied with that, then she can hit save listing. So I recommend before you hit save listing to look at it with fresh eyes, make sure everything looks perfect because it is only seen as a new listing one time. You can go in and you can add those documents like Colleen mentioned, the disclosures, and then you can also add and schedule your open houses and tours if you would like. So when you go in and add your open houses or tours, you have a couple options here. They actually added a live stream option during the pandemic. So a lot of times, and this is still something that could be used as a way to promote a listing. You might have an in-person open house, but you're also going to have a virtual open house. You can choose live stream, you can schedule that and put that URL, that Zoom URL right in here, and people can join while you give a virtual open house of the property. Now, most people are not doing that, but if you wanted to, that's a choice. Now you can go in, you can schedule that date, that time, any remarks that you would like to put into about the open house. And then once you save that tour or that open house, that is something that pops up in the market monitor for people. It will show up on the listing ticket if there's an open house. It'll show up on the single property website if there's an open house coming up. And it's also searchable. So if somebody just wants to kind of check out some open houses that are going on in the area, you can go under search, tours and open houses. And then you can run that area, those dates, price ranges, and then if somebody's scheduled an open house within Paragon, bam, it's right there for you. There in the tour. Now, let's say that everything's great. My admin got it started for me, or I didn't use an admin at all, from tax records and listing entry, added my photos, added my descriptions, added my disclosures and extra documents, scheduled an open house. I'm ready to go. Now this is when I save my listing. It's going to go out instantly throughout Paragon and our vendor MLSs. It's going to go out to data sharing within half an hour to an hour. It's going to be out on IDX, syndication, and it's all going to be pushed as a new listing alert. So anybody who's set up on a search through the collaboration center, they're going to get also a push notification that a new listing hit the market that matches your criteria. Now, once I've done all that, I'm going to do a little something extra. We have a single property website that's created on every single one of our listings. So if I just made my listing live, I'm going to get an email actually within, I think it's about 20 minutes or so of your listing being live, where you're going to get an email that your single property is now available to send. So you can send it to your client. You can, because we know that they're like, where is it? What's it look like? I want to see it. Here, this is a great place for you to see your listing, and you also to share it on your own Facebook page if you wanted to. But let me just pull up a sample listing of one of our agents who recently listed beautiful home, did a great job.
He always does. He really does an amazing job with his details too.
Oh, that's not the right one.
It's should be in here. Let me give it that.
13499. I just had it too pulled up.
It's BROUGH.
Did I forget the R? I think
so. Yep.
It might already be marked pending. Just this morning, it wasn't pending.
No, it could be.
He already marked it pending.
It is pending. Well, good for him. See what happens when you mark it in the morning?
It's not pending, right? It's probably because he did such a great job and the market's crazy. But you can see that he has a link here as a video tour too. But if you go to this little house with the check mark, that's where you can find the single property websites on every listing. But also your own listing. If this was your listing, it would be there for you, as well as, of course, an email that comes through, like I mentioned. So when we designed this website, we had the biggest thing that we wanted was the lead capture feature, easy to promote right there in your face, but also just really visually pleasing, easy, not a bunch of ads of other agents or other properties. This is a way to do justice to this home and you as an agent. High resolution photos, all the things, right? So this is going to have right front and center is the beautiful primary photo. Ed did a great job with rule of thirds. He has taken my photos classes. He's actually taken, I believe, every one of our classes. He's attended all of our events, all of our online events that we do sometimes too. We had a web show that we used to do. But look at this rule of thirds that he did, which was great. Primary photo, and then you can scroll through the photos, high resolution. Another thing too that I really like is that we added a year and a half ago, we added a accessibility menu. So this allows anybody who has any kind of visual impairment to be able to accommodate a website to work for them, from the screen reading to the font size, contrast, things like that. That will help anybody. I mean, honestly, just anybody that wants something a little bit more easier to read. But of course, for anybody who has any kind of visual impairment, this is a little icon up here that can help with your listing ease of going through. We also have the little description of the property. So take your time writing your public remarks. That's going to be displayed in here. What I really like that Ed did is he pointed out everything that's kind of been updated in the home and what year. So it's not buried, right? He has it right there. Look at the new Trek deck was put in 2017, talks about the pool being updated, talks about the granite countertops being updated. Icon-based, easy to look at, list of all the information. That's great for public map, and then the lead capture form right here. Now, once you've once you get your listing, people can obviously schedule a showing. If you have a virtual tour or an open house scheduled, open house will display here. Virtual tours, video tours, anything, if you have multiple, will show up up at the top. Now I want to share this on social media. Can easily, let me see what's going on. I just shared it. Hang on one second. All right, so I just shared it right here. When you share it, what's nice is I recommend just having about 3 to 4 sentences. Point out that it's new to the market, something about the property, something great about the property, a little selling feature, and then a call to action. So it doesn't need to be lengthy, but I just pointed out, based on the public remarks of how serene the backyard is, all the updates that they've done. You're right in the city, but it doesn't feel like it. So they've updated a lot of landscaping, in-ground pool, really secluded. And then schedule a showing today. Go ahead and you can click on that listing. Big thing that we wanted to push regarding the single property website is we want that primary photo to be big and in your face. I cannot stand when I see listings shared and it's a tiny little thumbnail. No, we don't have that. So when you go in, opens up that single property website that you saw. So from A to Z, you get that listing, research, create your comps, go in, enter that listing data form, finalize listing entry, photos, captions, descriptions, tours, make it live, and then you have this beautiful single property website to also promote it. And then Colleen, did you want to go over the statuses and anything else? Oh, I'm sorry, I have Cuba Casa I have to cover. Sorry, guys. All right. And another thing that I like to, this was a recent add to the class, but is Cuba Casa. So last summer we launched a new product called Cuba Casa. All copyrights reside with the agent and the broker of the creation of the floor plan. So a basic floor plan is included with my Real Source members. So if you go under resources in Paragon and sign up, if you haven't done this already, you get up to 5,000 square feet of a basic floor plan free, as many as you want. Now, if you go above that 5,000, there's a little bit more, like Colleen said, it goes up to, up to maybe $11, depending on, all the features and how big of the square, how big of a house and property that you're scanning. But this is that photo that you're gonna get sent a JPEG or a PNG, whatever you choose, of the floor plan that you can then add into your listing entry. But this floor plan app is really great because it allows you to edit the names. It allows you to do your own branding and color schemes. It's very accurate too. So it gives you a nice detailed report about the square footage of the home and everything like that. It is really accurate when it comes to kind of just even awkward floor plans. As you can see, this is a circular home. Does a great job, scanning. It has the technology built into the phone, uses the technology built into the phone to really do some measuring. It's so accurate that we actually have it as a choice as your source for your square footage. So you can use this as a source for square footage. Colleen built her house many years ago and had the blueprints of her home. And when she did her first scan of her home, it was exact to her blueprint. So just something to keep in mind that it is, I think it was around like 98.5% accuracy. So it's very, very close, not 100%, but still very, very close. It even scans funky shaped homes. If you get a house shaped like a boot, just that one's kind of funny to show. But
That
keep
one
in
is, it makes me laugh.
mind, I know, it's so silly that somebody would choose that, but okay. So keep this in mind. There's also some extra add-ons that we talk about in a little bit in the Cubicasa class, but just know that because you're my Real Source member, you get a 25% off discount on that. And then here's a little video of just how it works. So you will access it through resources in Paragon, because that's the specific link. Choose agent, sign up. So your email, your password that you would like to use, and then download the app. It's going to know that creation came from that link under resources so that you get the 5,000 square foot scan for free every time. But here is a little, I'm not going to play this whole video, don't worry, but here's just a little snippet of how it works. So you sign in, walk through, and it gives you directions as you're walking through too. So you're going to start on either the upper level or the lower level, walk through, open all the doors, open the windows, turn on all the lights, and just do one continuous scan. So you don't stop with one floor, then move up to the next. It is one continuous scan. What is really great about it too is it's not just solely technology. This file actually does get sent to not the little humans back behind the scenes that are, piecing this together, able to see the baby gate in the boxes in the basement, things like that, that I was kind of worried about in my house. Got all those kinds of things going on, lots of baby toys everywhere when I did this and baby gates. And I was just, okay, how accurate is this going to be? I also kind of have a funky floor plan on my house too. And it came out really, really great, really accurate. And I think it's the technology, but I also think it's the fact that there are real people looking at this scan and piecing it together before it actually, creates it fully.
I totally agree. It makes all the difference, right?
Yeah. And you can do a full scan of the pool and the backyard. You can do second dwellings, all that. Just keep in mind, the more you do over 5,000 square feet, there is a fee, but it's definitely really affordable. Now, once you've done your scan, your continuous scan, you then choose, the type of product that you want. So do you want it as a PDF? Do you want to add on any other bells and whistles to this? Do you want it as a PNG? There's also different kinds of reports that you can get sent over to you. And then it comes through within about how long did it take for you? Was it 6 hours, Colleen, or was it less?
I got mine back in, I know they say 20, I think it's 24 hours they say, but I've gotten all mine back in 12. So if I list the home, let's say at 6 o'clock that night, by the time I'm ready to put the listing in the morning, I've already got it back. So
Yeah,
I've gotten
that's
one back in 6 hours. The
an
6 hour
overnight for
one,
you.
yeah, it's been 12 hours that I've gotten it back. The 6, you can pay for a shorter 6 hour one too. But like I said, they say 24 hours, but I've gotten them all back in 12.
Yeah, I got mine really quickly when I did it. I did it in the like early afternoon and I had it by that evening. So, but
Yeah, it's very fast. And like I said, I was really surprised at how accurate it was. When I pulled out my floor plan, I'm like, this, you can't get it back that fast and it can't be that good. And it really was. I was shocked.
and we do have a Cuba Casa class coming up too, right, Colleen? If
We
anybody's
do.
interested.
Let me see when we have that. Sorry, I had a couple of things open here.
It's coming pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, just so you know, we are having a terrible storm here, so I wasn't muting because I was being rude. I just, it was trying to keep down the thunder noise in the background. So it kept banging. And I'm like, she's gonna wonder what the heck I'm doing.
Nope, I didn't notice. So, but yeah, we have a Cuba Casa class coming up. We can send the link in the chat for you guys too. So if this is something that you want to follow along and do, you are welcome to do that. Colleen does a great job teaching that class.
I will pay you later. That is really nice. I'm actually going. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if you were going to show the final floor plan, so I had it all open. So I had to like close it down to get to all the good stuff. So.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, that's all right. I'm pulling open the education corner. And by the way, if you're ever looking for upcoming classes, you can find that right under our resources section, under the education corner. And the next one is June 26th, Wednesday at 10 a.m. So Wednesday, June 26th at 10 a.m. So next week.
Yeah, I knew it was coming up really quickly. All right.
You
And
are
then I'm going to
absolutely
hand it
correct.
off to you, Colleen. Did I have any questions?
Just a couple. I know one person was just saying that they had that your screen was really high, but it looked perfect on mine. It looked 100%. So, but no, just a couple little tech things like that. But I thought you did. I always pick up a couple little tips and tricks, and so I appreciated that. And I think we just really kind of have to wrap up with a couple quick pieces. When talking about listings, we probably should also mention listing statuses, as well as we should probably kind of talk about the coming soon behaviors and rules, and that can actually differ a little bit. So let me kind of explain my real sources coming soon rules. Let me share this here. Are that you can have a coming soon up to 7 days. On that seventh day, automatically at midnight, that coming soon rolls over into an active listing. So a lot of talks about statuses, as I mentioned earlier on, I'm not a big ABO status fan because we've always accepted backup offers. And so was never a big fan of that. However, the things you need to know is that vendored MLSs, this makes it a little bit more challenging. Vendored MLSs may have different rules. There's a vendored MLS that I'm aware of that you can only have a coming soon for 3 days. So here at my rule source, our rules are coming soons, and why coming soons got started, just to kind of give you the background, the kind of a quick overview, is what was happening is there was bad behavior going on, right? There's never a rule till someone's doing something wrong, then we have to have rules. So what was happening is agents were putting signs in the property. You and your buyer are driving down the road and they'd say, hey, Colleen, can you give, that's our house. We want to see that house, right? You go into the MLS to make the appointment. There's no listing, right? So you figure, well, maybe they just didn't get to listing yet. You start calling this sign and you get in. And so a week goes by and your buyer says, Colleen, I'm going to get another agent because I can't get in that house. And that's the house we want to see. Lo and behold, it goes into the MLS pending, right? And so for 7 days, you've been trying to get your buyers in, but really and funny thing is it's pending with the same agent who has it listed because they were the only one able to show it. So is that really in the best interest of our sellers? And so NAR created what we call Policy 8. And basically that was set up to say you can put a sign on the lawn and market it as a coming soon. However, you only have 24 hours to get the coming soon into the MLS. Now, that doesn't mean you have to make it an active listing in 24 hours. What it means is you can, again, have a period of time that that homeowner may need to maybe paint or fix it up, But the coming soon rules are, if it is coming soon, you cannot show it as the listing agent. Your broker and brokerage cannot show it. Your team cannot show it. No one can show it until it becomes active. And there's an activation date on every coming soon. Here at My Real Source, again, ours is set for 7 days. At midnight, it rolls into an active. You cannot relist it as a coming soon. Nice try. I know what you're thinking. Could you just relist it as a? No, the answer is it's a one and done. You basically, and it doesn't have to be 7 days. It could be 2 days. And many of our vendored MLSs, if you are not a My Real Source member, if you're coming to us from another MLS, they may also have different rules. So keep in mind, you may be with an MLS that only has coming soons for up to 3 days. There's a few of those. So keep in mind, check with your MLS and find out what your rules are. Okay, so back in the day, when I got my license, the deal was you could take a listing, take it off the market for a day, put it back on the market, it would show up as a brand new listing. Wow, like it's like a redo, right? Or we would do the old-fashioned trick of changing it $1. You would take it off the market, you would change it $1, you'd put it back on the market, and guess what? Lo and behold, it would be a brand new listing. Does not work like that anymore, thanks to places like IDX, that like Zillow, Realtor.com. They know that property ID, and that's how they track it. So they know when a listing has gone on the market, off the market, and so the little taking it off for a day or changing it for $1 and relisting it doesn't really work. However, if you have a property that you have taken off of the market for a full 30 days, when you relist that property on day 31, it has to be a full 30 days off market, then it does become a new listing. So if you are looking to refresh a listing, maybe you've had on the market a year, it has not sold, and you want to just have a brand new MLS number, a new listing altogether, remember, you can always take it off the market, but it needs to be off the market a full 30 days on day 31. That's when it would appear as a new listing. Also, if you had a listing, this is another good one that comes up. What if I have a listing and I want to now relist it, but I don't want to go through, having to find all of the disclosures and the photos. I just want to take my old listing and make it a listing again. We do have something called cloning a listing, and that's where you can take your original listing. Now, I'm going to give you a little caveat here. If you're going to relist the property a year later, you really should be doing new disclosures, or at least making sure that they're updated, because obviously things can change. And if they're dated for 2 years ago, it's not going to look really great in your associated documents. But what you can do is, if you have a listing, it was your listing, you cannot clone someone else's listing. But if you had a listing and let's say it didn't sell, they took it off the market for a year, now they call you, they want to put it back on, you can do a clone on your own listing, which will allow you to bring back all of those great photos that you took. Hopefully you took Taylor's class, and it will allow you to bring those disclosures and everything back for that listing. Obviously, you have to give it a new date that it would go live and a new expiration date, but everything else can stay the same, or you can edit it if you need to. It's just a quicker way than having to go back and fill in all of those fields again. So on your screen, you do kind of see an example of Kubicasa. I wanted to sort of give you a real quick example of what that looks like. Each floor plan, this is just the basement of my home. I just grabbed a quick one, but you can see it has the total square footage of each floor, the combined square footage. It even does things like the garages, as Taylor gave you a great tour. So I just kind of want to show you, this is the PDF format of it. You actually can choose your file format when you get it back. So a lot of cool things that you can do there as well. So just happen to have that up. I think we answered most of the questions. Remember that this class was recorded, so you can go back and see it at any time. Ooh, here it was. Here it's just to kind of quickly, this is Kubicasa. Again, this is the floor plan app. This is the interactive, so you can kind of go through it. You can see it breaks each one down. We'll give you the room measurements. You can change the colors and things, as Taylor mentioned. So a lot of cool things here. But remember, we're recording this class. So if you had to step away, I know we're ending right on time, 2 minutes under. So if you had to step away or you missed any part of this class, remember, you will find it under resources, under recorded webinars. Give me about 24 hours to edit it and make it all pretty and put the little ending cards and fun stuff on it. But that's where you will find it. If you're looking for our upcoming class list, as I mentioned, Taylor does a great job teaching the photos class. We also teach another class on low inventory that I mentioned. Under the education corner, you can register for any of our classes: Cloud CMA, We also have a new class that will be coming out on the what you need to know about the NAR settlement practice changes, the changes you're going to see in the MLS. They're coming, so you're going to want to be prepared. That class will be announced next month. There's my good friend Lisa Harris teaches a great property information and tax records class. Of course, transaction desk, Authentisign, tools for tackling low inventory, and again, Kubacasa, just to name a couple. So you find that also under resources and education. And with that, Taylor, I thought you did an outstanding job.
Thank you. I thought you did too.
And
Always.
thank you. Thank you, Win. Nice seeing you were here. And yeah, I know I got a couple messages about the page being blown up. I got several of them at 177%, but I will tell you that that isn't her page because the rest of us are seeing it okay. I checked with a few people and we were all seeing it at 100%. So I'm sorry about that. I'll send you the recording right out and hopefully that will help. But for everyone else, I want to thank you so much for your time. I hope you use these listing tools. Go get us some inventory so we can have happy selling and happy sellers. And so, and more importantly, some happy buyers. That would be really nice too. So we're here. We have support, free support for any of the MLSs 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And other than that, happy selling, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.